Good afternoon. This is the House Appropriations Committee. It is Monday, February 10th, 2025. It is a little bit after 1:30 in the afternoon, and we are continuing testimony on the FY26 budget. We are also piloting people, committee members being remote as well as in committee rooms. So people can see who's there, and I will try to recognize folks on Zoom. If you have any trouble with me catching your eye, put your hand up, wave a lot, whatever, we'll find, or just speak up and say, oh, I'd like to say something. So we will make this work. It's our first time trying this. This afternoon, we have three organizations coming. We have the Department of Liquor and Lottery now, and then we have the Cannabis Control Board, and then we have the Human Rights Commission. So that's what our afternoon looks like. And we're delighted to have Commissioner Wendy Knight, Department of Liquor and Lottery. Thank you for your patience as we kind of
course. Yes, of course. Nice to be here again. For the record, Wendy Knight, Commissioner of the Department of Liquor and Lottery, and I'm going to start where you've asked me to do so, which is to talk a little bit about our mission and the people we served. I think I gave a quick overview the last time I was here on the BAA to talk about the mission of the department. So we basically have a dual mission. We generate revenue for the education fund and the general fund through the proceeds of liquor sales, for lottery funds, and sports wagering revenue share. And then we have an equally important, if not more important mission, which is to do that in a responsible and safe manner. And so we look through those two lenses of commerce and then public safety and harm reduction. We essentially run we run three enterprise funds. So Division of Liquor Control, Vermont Lottery, and the Sports Wagering Enterprise Fund. We serve Vermonters that are over 18 and want to participate in the lottery. We serve Vermonters over the age of 21 that want to participate in alcohol purchases, consumption, and online sports wagering. We also serve the thousands of licensees that we allow to sell either lottery tickets and or alcohol, including bars and restaurants and hotels and taverns that are often the economic engine or the anchor of many communities. And then we serve the 15.3 million visitors, at least those that are of legal drinking age that come to Vermont. So as Vermont is a tourist economy, it isn't just the Vermonters that we're serving, but the visitors that come here in terms of access to the 802 spirit stores and making sure that the bars and restaurants have the inventory, at least on the liquor side.
So I'm going to pause you for just a second, Commissioner. I've neglected to welcome and recognize Representative Lucy Boyden, who's on the Government Operations Committee, and she's sitting in for your presentation as well. So Rep. Boyden, thanks. And if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand as well. Thanks for coming.
So we don't, unlike a lot of other state agencies and departments, we don't actually, you're not actually funding us. We're actually the opposite. We're giving you revenue. And so this budget is the administrative cost of running the department. I talked a little bit about the public safety and harm reduction. And so that's in terms of educating. So we have to educate the licensees. It's a requirement to have a liquor license. You have to have a certification from the department every 2 years. And then we make sure that the licensees are compliant, right? So we pass laws and we have regulations, and then the job is to make sure that they're being followed. And so we have an investigative team of certified law enforcement agents that are responsible for making sure that mostly that we're not selling tobacco to minors and we're not selling alcohol to minors. We want to make sure that they're following those rules. And we do that with this, what I call an education first program, which is the idea is that most of these people want to be compliant. You just have to educate them about what the rules and the regulations are. And then the businesses that we operate. So we have an 802 Spirits operation. That's the retail network. That's where we, as a control state, require people to purchase the alcohol. So whether you're a bar, a restaurant, hotel, or a walk-in consumer, if you're needing to purchase or wanting to purchase spirits, you do through an 802 Spirit stores, and we have about 80 802 Spirit stores.
So Wendy, after COVID, we did change some rules around ready to drink and where those could be sold. And I guess maybe we didn't have it before, but has that affected your sales of 802 Spirits, do you think?
It hasn't not affected our revenue.
Okay.
It's just affected the different types of products that we carry. So for the ready to drink, low alcohol spirits category that we created, that's now in the private sector. So instead of being sold exclusively at 802 Spirit stores, now there can be sold in, up to 1,000 or 2,000 convenience and grocery stores. And so what we did is we substituted those products. We're not selling them anymore, so we don't leave the shelves empty, and we started selling other products. It did not affect our sales.
Okay.
I don't know if you're gonna get to it or not, but sales down, but do you have fewer licenses in the various categories? Fewer, probably not fewer liquor stores, but you have fewer beer and wine or like restaurant licenses or different types of licenses, once the stores have.
I understand. I understand the question. Yeah.
Did that trend down after COVID or?
A little bit. So we've, since about 2000, and I have data, I just collected data on this, I could follow up. Since 2016, the number of licensees that we've had has mainly been flat. It's a little down now, but it was up a little bit. Immediately after post-COVID was 2022, 2023. And we saw that some of those bars and restaurants that had been closed for a period of time didn't reopen. And now we're starting to see a little bit more of an uptick, but our overall licensing numbers now versus 2016 are slightly down.
What I was getting at is whether people were consuming less or there were fewer outlets for them to go.
Yeah, no, actually the licensee sales. So when you go into a bar, restaurant or hotel, the on-premise licensees, those sales are starting to represent a greater proportion of our overall sales. So those sales are growing at a higher pace, whereas the walk-in consumer is going down. And I think I talked about the reasons. It's just been the last year or so. Nationally, alcohol consumption is down, so people are buying less alcohol. Inflation is impacting. Legalized cannabis in states that have legalized cannabis, they're seeing a decline in alcohol sales. People are trading their behaviors. And also the flooding impacted in 2023 temporarily impacted us here in Vermont. We had 10 stores that closed temporarily. You're welcome. And then on the lottery gaming operations, so we basically operate a retail network. We have 581 licensed lottery agents, and then we sell a portfolio of lottery tickets through those agents. I talked about a little bit before I move on from the liquor control operations. We're looking at expanding the number of kiosk models. We're going to add a few more of those. Those are smaller footprints. They only sell Vermont-made products and the top 50 or top 100 sales. They don't sell to bars and restaurants. They just a smaller model. And we are using the work from our data analyst to put them in more tourist areas. Again, speaking to the 15 million tourists that come in. So if we're able to set up a few more kiosk stores, help in large part the Vermont manufacturers, because they really need to be able to have accessibility to the visitors. So we're setting up a couple more kiosk models. On the lottery gaming operations side, we're focused on putting in additional vending machines. And actually this work is complete already. So we have one more additional vending machine to put in. And this allows more of a player convenience. We know that a lot of the lottery agents are having trouble finding workers. So by having a self-serving vending machine, players can have privacy and sort of accessibility and a little bit more convenient to use the vending machine as opposed to going up to the counter and requiring the agents to have additional staff.
So if it's self-serve, how do we prevent underage people from using the vending machines?
I don't know that question, but we certainly have a way of doing that, and I could follow up with you. I haven't used one of the self-serving vending machines. I'm sure that they have to put identification in.
Yeah, not just say.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that never works.
Yeah.
So just step back to the kiosk. Are there any in place right now?
Yes. Yep.
Where?
Jericho, we have one in Jericho, we have one in Berlin, we have one in Randolph.
They're like little storefronts that have just a limited stock.
Yeah, so they're usually a store within a store. So if you go up to Berlin, the Maple Fields, where the travel center is,
Yeah.
there's a little 802 Spirit store. It literally operates, it's like one shelf, maybe two, and it mostly has Vermont products. And then it has some of the other sales, top 50 sales product. So a Maker's Mark.
Separated out like it. I mean, I guess in
It's a,
the lottery store is not separated.
no, they're all operating, right. An 802 Spirit store is also usually a wine store or a beer store.
Right.
And they're separate registers. You have to have separate registers. They're just a smaller
Okay, no,
footprint.
it's a newer thing for me. I've never seen them and I just haven't followed along with the development of these, so.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, oh, wait, sure.
There's one in Montgomery, in the store, Puffer's store in Montgomery. Is that,
That's not a kiosk model.
that's,
No.
that's the regular liquor store model, because it's like a gated off. and-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to have a separate space usually or to register. We are introducing a $30 ticket this year on the Vermont Lottery side, if replacing the $25 ticket. On the sports wagering side, we don't run this business. We're just purely regulators here. And we talked about the revenue projection. We're actually projecting a little bit down for FY '26. And that's because what we've been seeing this past season, the NFL season, is that the bettors were betting on the favorites. And up until this weekend, the favorites were winning. And when the favorites win, the winning payouts is larger. And when the winning payouts is larger, the adjusted gross sports wagering revenue to split is less. So because this fall across the country, the people that are engaged in sports wagering, the wagerers, the bettors were betting on the favorites were winning.
Was there, so Rep. Harrison has a question. Jim?
Yeah, Commissioner, so this current BAA, and it's understandable because it was the first year, we budgeted for a little bit more than we actually expect to have, so we made it an adjustment in the budget adjustment. However, going to fiscal year '26,
Yes.
from what I understand, you're going for you're estimating an increase over and above what we will get this current fiscal year. And I'm curious as to why you think it will increase by, I think it's close to $1 million over what we expect to do this year.
So the estimate for the net revenue from the Liquor Control Fund in FY '26 is 14.8 million.
Okay, no, I'm talking about sports betting.
You're talking about sports betting, okay?
Yes. Yeah,
So we projected, yes. So we project,
downgraded during the BAA.
correct.
To something, I'm gonna get the numbers wrong. We
I can
initially.
tell you what it is.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we originally had 10 million. And then we downgraded to, well, that was our initial projected. 7.6 million is what's projected in the FY '26 budget.
7.6 million?
7.6 million.
Okay, but we are expected to generate about $1 million less than that in the current year.
Yes, we downgraded the FY '25 to 6.1 million.
Okay. So $1.5 million. And why are you
Correct.
expecting it to increase by $1.5 million?
Because normally from year to so we expect increase in the sports wagering revenue as the market matures.
So you feel comfortable that the $1.5 million increase over the current fiscal year is a realistic number?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
So I am curious, since you brought it up, yes, the line on the Super Bowl was a bit off. So the people who, so there were probably fewer winners. Do you even get information about that on how much it was, and then what was the payout if you were?
Yeah, so what we get is a total. So we asked to look at for events. So we've been tracking and we'll get from the operators, what was the activity on the Super Bowl? So we'll be able to understand from a composite perspective,
Yeah.
how much was wagered on the Super Bowl? How much was paid out into the winning payouts, and then what's the revenue share from that? We'll be able to see how much of that was in-state versus out-of-state. So we'll have a report on the Super Bowl.
Okay, how long does it take to get that report?
I don't know, it's maybe 10 days, 15 days.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, usually. I mean, we normally, for the monthly reports that we put on the website, it's the 15th of the following month. So we would be in February 15th, putting the January
Right.
figures up there. And then whenever we have a special event, or like we did the NCAA basketball championship, we did the solar eclipse, things like that, we'll put that as a special report on the website.
Rep Stevens is a question.
So I've looked at the monthly reports and they show, of course, the handle and then the winnings. They show the out of state and state counts or sort of,
Users.
you get a chance to see, and then you've talked about how bettors have been doing better in their winnings. So, but do you have the number of winners?
No,
Can you get the number of?
The number of
Because
winners?
there's a distraction
uh-huh,
to say that if $100 was bet and 80 of that goes back out in winnings, and then there's profit to the companies that are running the games, and then we see our vigorish is from the profits from the companies.
mhm.
So it's like, okay, so this money goes out and then this money comes back to the bettors, but I'm curious to know how many winners there are. We know how many players there are, but if we don't know how many winners there are.
Well, we don't actually know how many players they are because it's actually done by user accounts. So people usually have multiple accounts, right? So the number you see is probably inflated because it's counting me. If I had multiple users accounts, so I had a user account with Fanatics, I had a user account with FanDuel, I had a user account with DraftKings, those are our three operators. I'm going to show up in the tally of user accounts as 3 when it's really just one person. And so the other issue with winners is they're tracking the bets. So there are multiple bets that are taking place. So for example, a parlay bet, I could place a parlay bet if this happens and if this happens and this happens. So there might be six bets within a bet. So the way they're tracking it isn't by a person. It's tracking the use accounts.
So I guess I would be interested in knowing more of that information. In other ways of calculating, like in the lottery, it's always been an estimate that 80% of the winnings are made by 20% of the players. There's sort of an assumption that or when there was fantasy sports, that 95% of the winnings were made by 5% of the players. And so I'm wondering, how can we get an idea of how many winners or losers or winning bets and losing bets there were, just to get an idea of saying, to get an idea of who the winners and losers are, maybe not who, but the percentage of bets are winning. Because if I put down $5 on a parlay, I could win $500 or something like that. Then do you follow what I'm saying?
I do follow. Totally follow what you say.
I'm wondering if the data
Yeah.
can be broken down so that we can see, at least on the Vermonter side, how many of the bettors are, or how many of the bets are winning, something that gives us an idea of, I guess in my idea, how many losers there are. How many people are not succeeding at their gambling?
I can certainly find out if we have that information. What we're trying to track right now are the key metrics of how many people are signing up for the self-exclusion list, how many people are taking advantage of the 1-800 number for problem gambling resources, and then what is the revenue to the state? And so those are the metrics that we're looking at for sports wagering.
Okay, well, that's fine. And one last question. Do you control at all what people can bet on outside of, I mean, I think college sports, I think most sports within the state are excluded. I can't vote. I can't.
Yeah, the department has the authority to approve the sports wagering catalog. So we get the request from the operators, and then we, looking at the contracts and looking at the enhanced procedures and looking at the law, determine whether or not that's a legitimate event to bet on, to have wagered in the category. So there was a number of requests that came through for the Super Bowl. We look through it with those lenses, and then we say, yes, this meets the criteria, and we allow the operators to put that in
I
there.
just noticed in the monthly report that table tennis was.
Yeah, apparently.
That lots, well, not as much yet in Vermont, but Oregon, we reported that they had over $9 million in table tennis.
Yeah, so we had table tennis at one point, was in one of the top 5 sporting events. Apparently, there's a very competitive table tennis series out there.
Right.
So do you have you're the house. So does the house have a percentage that it would like to get?
It doesn't work that way in sports wagering. The contract that we've negotiated, so a house is a term for a casino, and we don't have casinos in Vermont. So basically what we do is we allow 3 operators to operate their apps in Vermont, and we get a revenue share from that. And it's 33% for FanDuel, 31% for Fanatics, and 31% for DraftKings.
And so the reason why I ask is obviously if you're not making enough money, there's a certain point in time where it could cost more than what you're getting. So that's why.
It's not costing us more than what we're
I
receiving.
understand that, but
Yeah.
so, does the state have a preconceived notion in terms of how much they would like to make off of this?
We do in terms of the projection. So that's what I put forward in the FY26, for example. We're expecting our revenue from the contracts is 7.6 million. That's what we're expecting to make.
Thanks.
Let's see, where am I? Okay, strategic goals. So we are focusing on a couple of initiatives. One is to expand the Educate and Innovate program that we have. It's a direct expenditure. We do this in concert with the Agency of Education. And so we fund schools that apply for this program, and they get direct funding for STEAM initiatives. And so the last couple of years, we've done, it's a $15,000 award, and we've done two schools. It's really quite impressive, and it's really impactful. For example, in Franklin Northeast School this year, there's a lot of families there that are below the poverty level. And so one of the initiatives that the school put forward was a really technology-centric education program. And so they received a $15,000 award from us. The other was in Charleston Elementary School, and they did a really cool initiative where they're using technology to help with the flood damage and the repairing of that. So they were able to buy a laser cutter, and they're using that to make signs and materials to help people understand some of the recovery work that's happening. So we're looking to double that from 2 $15,000 awards to 4. A lot of the strategic goals we have focus on the employee engagement survey and the customer satisfaction survey. So last year we launched our first ever customer satisfaction survey. This is our second year. We've seen all of the customer groups, the satisfaction increase from year to year, which is great. That's what you want to see in a customer satisfaction, trending up. And so we're looking to improve that again in the third year. So we're looking to go from 68% overall satisfaction to 75. And then we have a couple of scores that we're looking at for our employee engagement. We spend a lot of time on the employee engagement and retention, and we're looking at a couple of very focused scores to improve, and that would be inclusive workplace and operational efficiency. We think those are two really important. It's really important that people feel welcome and included, not just the employees that work at the department, but of course the businesses that we work with. We work with all kinds of businesses across the state, and so we definitely value that ethos of making people feel that they're valued and respected and included. And then operational excellence, because we run businesses, we are constantly focusing every day on how to do things better, how to be more efficient, how to save taxpayers money, right? If you're running a business and the profits, if the revenues are looking like they're slowing down, which is what's happening, we try to figure out how we can contain cost, which I think you'll see partly in this budget is an effort to really reduce costs.
So Wendy, I know that you're supposed to put a certain percent or a certain dollar amount into supporting people that might have gambling issues or liquor, gambling problem, drinking, things like that. Do you have any way of tracking the usage of that, or do you just hand over money to the Department of Health, or how does that work?
Sure.
People who have problems.
So we have there's nothing related to alcohol, right? So we don't give money to the Department of Health for that. Their money for alcohol, public health comes from somewhere else, not us. And so in our budget, we take $250,000 from the Vermont Lottery Fund, and we take $250,000 from the Sports Wagering Enterprise Fund, and $500,000 is through an MOU with the Department of Mental Health. And that's for gaming, responsible gaming, problem gambling. And the Department of Mental Health sets up the program for the players. That 1-800 number that I referenced, there's a website, they're training providers, and they're doing public awareness campaigns to let people know where they can find resources. And the Department of Mental Health tracks those metrics. How many people are calling in, how many people they've referred for service.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Would you like me to go through the ups and downs?
Just the highlights.
Yep.
Would be good. We know about salaries and that sort of stuff.
Correct.
We certainly don't need to. So this is all on our committee page. So I'm looking at
So
3 and.
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the ups and downs, and I'm going to direct you to the last column, basically, the total column, right? Because the special fund is our surplus property. We own, we're able to manage the fleets, and when the vehicles come up, we can sell them, and that goes to the surplus property.
Mm-hmm.
We have the interdepartmental transfers. We have some MOUs in place with the Cannabis Control Board, the Vermont Department of Health, and the Agency of Transportation. All the 3 enterprise funds, as well as the Tobacco Litigation Fund, are in this all other. So I'm going to just walk you down here. The major things that are happening, and that goes to the one question, what are the major challenges, is we have a great example of innovation. It's called the B2B website. It allows the bars and restaurants to go online and to make their alcohol orders in a much more efficient way. Right now, they literally have to walk into an 802 Spirit store or have to call. And so this will allow them, like shopping on Amazon, they go in, they can create a cart. If there's something they want that's out of stock, it will show what other 3 comparable products are available. It will allow them to create their order, and then they can either have it delivered if that's what their store does, or pick it up at a store. So much more efficient way of doing business, which which will help out a lot of our licensees. That launches in the spring. It was supposed to launch over a year ago. And one of the reasons it got delayed and one of the reasons why you see an increase in this is because our inventory for the alcohol is on a platform of D365. That allows us to have all of the inventory in all of the stores to be able to understand what's available, and that's the point of sale system. That has not been upgraded in 7 years. And once we signed the contract with Provi to do the B2B website, right, to allow the bars and restaurants to purchase in that manner, well, the Provi system needs to connect to the D365 system. And once we signed the contract and started going through the, process of working with Provi, the department's working with ADS, ADS made us aware that the Provi platform wasn't going to work with the existing D365 platform. So we need to upgrade the D365 platform. Those costs were not known until recently, which is why you're seeing what they weren't known, a year ago when we put our FY25 budget together. They're only known now. So that's why you see the uptick in that.
The 1.82 million?
Correct. That's correct. Then the next line,
You have a question about that?
Yeah, you mentioned delivery. I know that's been a long-standing desire for restaurants in particular. Can you tell me, do we have a policy change that allowed stores to just automatically deliver?
no, they can contract if they want to contract with a delivery service. So it's so like Burlington Bay, they have a lot of licensee accounts, and then they contract with I'm sorry, it's the bars and the restaurants that are contracting to have their liquor delivered.
So like a Green Mountain Messenger can pick it up and deliver it, or it has to be somebody who's licensed to.
Yeah, I'd have to find out what the delivery is. Most of these bars and restaurants are physically going in and picking them up, and they would still need to do that. The ordering system makes it a lot more efficient.
Right, no, I just heard the word delivery, so I didn't.
Correct.
Was if I know that's been a long standing desire of the restaurants and bars.
Yeah, some of them contract for it to do that.
We have a limited, I can't remember which license. There's already a limited way of delivery, but not.
I can follow up on the delivery question.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just something that stood out because I know,
Yeah.
I know that they've wanted it for a long time.
Oh, and Brett Harrison has a question too. He's hiding behind the lives.
Yeah.
Jim?
Yeah, Commissioner, I know you covered the software change and a need for it with Representative Boyden and I when we met last week, but could you refresh us? Is that 1.8 million a one-time expense? Or is that an ongoing expense?
That isn't one-time expense. That will not be the ongoing expense for the B2B program. The ongoing expense for the B2B program, I think I can get you that. 300,000 maybe? I'd have to find that out.
So
Okay, but so next year, if we go with this number, there'll be a significant decline in this.
Yes. Yeah, this
number.
1.8 million is to upgrade the D365.
Okay,
It's not, it doesn't represent the ongoing program of the Provi B2B website.
okay, and this is all coming out of the enterprise fund, so next year, everything else being equal, then the enterprise fund will generate a little bit more revenue to the state than it will this fiscal year 26. Is that fair to say?
Yes, we're projecting 14, almost 15 million plus the 5 million in excise tax.
Right, but if you take the 14 million next year, it would be,
You mean
a
FY
million and a half
27?
or more.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Yes,
All right, just wanna
yes,
make sure I
yes, yes,
understand.
Jim, yes, yeah, this is a one-time expense.
thank you.
Thank you.
so once this is done, you'll have a maintenance contract.
Correct. With Provi, we will have no more upgrade D365 expenses. No more surprises.
Great.
Then we have the next increase, 167,000, and that's because of Salesforce is the platform we use for our online licensing portal that we launched a couple of years ago. This was also a portal that a lot of the other state agencies and departments were using during COVID. And what's happened is apparently this is what I've been told by ADS, is that the other departments are using Salesforce less. So the enterprise-wide usage of Salesforce is down. Therefore, our individual login fees are more expensive because we're the ones that are left holding funding for Salesforce. So that explains that. The other one is the support ADS contract. Historically, we had one contract that ADS used for the D365 software and hardware that posed problems because as the department is managing the relationships with the agents, we needed to manage that contract. So we put those contracts apart, we put them out to bid. We had one vendor reply for the hardware and one vendor reply for the software, and we've seen a little bit of an uptick in the price.
So is
Of the
that gonna be
software.
an ongoing cost at 445, 444?
It will be, I have to ask you that. I have to ask Lisa that. Is Lisa?
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Jane. Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know that it'll be 440,000 per year. I think it's truing up and then I'll get you that.
okay.
This is Lisa. Yes,
Oh,
that
good.
would be ongoing costs.
It is, okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Welcome.
Lots of people on, if your screen is off, we don't know you're on.
Thanks, Lisa.
So your B2B project, you own the code when you're done? This is not a system that you're like the other system you got where you're gonna incur more cost because other people not using it so much. You're buying a license there. In the case of the B2B, are you actually owning the software?
We-
and maintenance contract?
We have a contract with Provi that operates the website. So we have a contract in place with Provi and they're going to operate. They do that right now with wholesalers. So a lot of states use them and a lot of people use them to buy their beer and wine and cider.
So the 1.8 million, is that for coding, for writing code for a new program, this program B2B system? Or
No, the 1.8 is to upgrade the D365 inventory. It's really to get the D365 inventory
to change
upgraded so that we can,
they're coding, they're upgrading, they're doing coding in there to do that. So I was just curious, you own that system, you're not licensing it, so going forward through time, as long as you have programmers around, they'll be able to maintain that, so you get that maintenance contract for that, which is good, I think.
yeah, so the difference with Salesforce and Provi is the department has a contract in place with Provi. So it says, this is what you're to do for us, when you're supposed to do it, and this is how much we're going to pay for you. The Salesforce contract is a contract that ADS holds. So
Include that.
I don't have control over that. This one here, Provi, I have control over that because it's the department's contract. So that's generally what I have for you.
Okay, and you're no longer leasing certain space, so that's going down, so that's.
Yes, there's a few things that have gone down because I have an amazing finance director, Lisa, who's retiring at the end of March.
Oh,
Sad to say, Tracy Badeau is our new finance director in waiting, and she's on there somewhere.
great.
She will be officially the only finance director as of March 23rd.
So, does this include the sports wagering? Because I saw somewhere you have two positions.
That was last year. That's looking at the counts.
Oh, that was past. So
No, it was FY '24.
Okay.
No new positions, no new initiatives. Our goal is to continue to decrease our cost and to make sure that we are operating our businesses so that people are participating in them safely and responsibly.
Great. Thank you. This is Jim's budget. As you know, Jim, you're all set for what you need for right now? Okay, and we know we can funnel questions through Jim. Wendy, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Nice to
Appreciate it.
see you all.
Nice to see
Thank
you
you.
all. Aaron's having some interesting streaming challenges, so we're gonna go off live, take a little break, and then we'll have the cannabis control board, who I think is scheduled for 2:30